Hey guys, welcome again to my channel. My name and first of all, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And although I'm making all my efforts to make your concepts clear, if any particular topic you did not understand in the video or in the previous videos as well, you can drop it down in the comments below so that I can make some separate video for it so that you can clear your concept. I think that would work. And today's topic is national law, so let's get started. So in this chapter, we will basically be talking about the aircraft manuals, which are in two volumes, volume 1 and volume 2. More focus will be in volume 1. It contains various aircraft acts, which keeps on updating in a couple of years with new rules and regulations, which makes the aviation much more regulated, secure and efficient. So the Aircraft Act of 1934 and 37 will be the main ones which we'll be focusing on, and the rest will be giving just a brief description. So first of all, the Aircraft Act of 1934. This act mainly focuses on the control of manufacture, possession, use, operation, and sale, import, export of the aircraft. The Aircraft Act of 1937 is for regulating the civil aviation activity in India. So we'll be seeing about all these things in detail, don't worry about it. Next is 1920. This one is for custom rules governing aircraft arriving in or departing from India. So let's get started with the Aircraft Act of 1934. So in this act, we will be learning about the power of the government, the possession, who holds the aircraft, and if the rules and regulation of this act are not followed, then what all will be the penalties, etc. So to start with, this act, the rules of this act extends to whole of India, and every Indian citizen comes under it. Also, it also applies to the person or to the aircraft which is registered in India, also to the aircraft registered outside India but for the time being it is in India, also to the person also, okay, and not an Indian citizen but has his principal place of business or permanent residence in India. So these people will have to follow the rules under this act. First of all, let's talk about the exemption and then we'll talk about detail. So this, from the rules of the Aircraft Act 1934, the central government has the power in certain cases that they can exempt the aircraft to not follow these rules and detain in case the government finds that there can be a danger to a person in the aircraft or the persons or property. Then in that case they can detain the aircraft as well. So they have all the power. First, fine. Wreck and salvage. So provisions under the Merchant Shipping Act 1958. So in case of wreck and salvage, the rules apply same as that of the ships. So in case the if there's a owner of the aircraft who would be getting rewarded for some salvage services, it will be same as that which is provided to the ship owners, and all the other rules that is applied over the sea or over the tidal waters, it is same as that applied for the ships. So in case of wreck and salvage, if the question comes, then it is same as that of the ship owners and the rules applied to the ships. So let's talk about the penalties. So if you do not follow the rules under this act, then there will be penalties that can be imposed upon you, and that can be a huge amounts also. So the main ones we will be talking about, first is for carrying arms, explosives or any dangerous goods without either without permit or with any false information. In that case, if you carry the explosives or arms on the aircraft, then the penalties can be up to 2 years of imprisonment and fine up to 10 lakh rupees. Remember, it is and, okay. In case of slaughter, flaying animals or depositing rubbish within 10 km of the radius of the aerodrome, then you will be imposed upon imprisonment up to 3 years or fine up to 10 lakhs or both, okay. And there are various sections in this act. So these can be, well, it's not discussed very much briefly, but just to know that the sections can be 5A, section 4, 7, 8, 8A. All these sections, if you breach it, then also the imprisonment, you can get an imprisonment of 2 years and fine up to 10 lakhs or both also. Okay. Coming to section 9A. What is section 9A? First of all, it sets out rules to demolish the buildings as well as cut out the trees which are nearby the aerodrome, which are, obstructing the smooth movement of aircrafts around that area. So actually the notice is given to such buildings and the trees, whatever municipality or authorities there in that area, to cut it down. But within that notice period, if they do not do it, then the central government has the full power to demolish that building or cut that tree down to reduce its height. So that is section 9A, and penalties can also be imposed upon you up to 10 lakh fine and imprisonment up to 2 years. So these are the penalties of 9A. So now coming to the aircraft rule 1937, we already talked that this rule is for regulating the civil aviation in the country smoothly. So this also applies for the whole of India, to all the aircraft that is registered in India, to all the aircraft and the person who are in for the time being in India, and the aircraft registered outside India. The regulations, licenses of the personnel obviously, airworthiness, logbooks, they have to be of the country from where they belong. So basically all the aircrafts which are registered in India and for the people who are there in India for the time being, this rule applies for them. But if the aircraft is registered in some other contracting state, in that case the registration, licenses, airworthiness and logbooks, they will be as per the rules of that other contracting state and not from India. I hope that was clear. Now comes the case where the aircraft are given out on lease, charter and interchange, etc. All those cases are there. In that case, if the aircraft is not registered in India and it is being given to or transferred to some person who is also again not from India, who does not own any business or in India and also does not have a permanent residence in India, in that case obviously the rules will be applied of the contracting state. So the rules of this Aircraft Act will not follow in this case. But for the other cases, like the aircraft is not registered in India, but the person or the operator has his business in India, in that case the rules will be applied. And also in the case where the aircraft is registered in India but the operator has the business permanent residence out of India, in that case the rules will not be applied. So there are two cases where the rules are not applied if everything is outside India. Then, and next thing, that if the operator and the operator's business or residence is in India but the aircraft is not registered in India, in that case rules will not be applied. Otherwise in this case it will be applied. Next points which I'll be talking about is a very common sense thing. So we'll be clearing it in one line only. So nationality of the aircraft. Obviously the state of registry will be the nationality of that aircraft in the state where it is registered. No aircraft can fly without registration and nationality mark. That is an obvious thing. Prohibited flights. So if any aircraft that is registered in India wants to fly outside, it needs a permit from Dgca, then only they can travel outside India. Otherwise they cannot go in any other state. Also they cannot fly over any prohibited territory. That is a rule. Also important thing is licenses of the personnel. Anyone who is operating the aircraft must be licensed, whether it is a pilot, it is an engineer, it is anyone else who is operating the aircraft, they have to be licensed. type of aircraft has to be included in the rating. So no person will be flying the aircraft which is not entered in the aircraft rating of the license. Okay. Next is the aircrafts which are not rated, they can only fly for testing purpose and without passengers, and obviously for the non-revenue purposes. Valid documents are to be carried in the aircraft. Passport. Anyone coming into the Indian territory needs to have a passport. So this is according to the Indian Passport Act, which was made in 1920. In case they are not holding a valid passport, then immediately an arrangement is made to send him away from the country, from wherever he has come, or just not be in the Indian territory. Then every registered aircraft in India should have cockpit checklists and emergency checklists. Written permission from the central government to carry military stores, munitions of wars, or any other ammunitions, etc. For that, written permission is required. Next is, one more thing, that security check has to be done in the aircraft, that is to board in the aircraft, that is a mandatory thing. Radio telegraph apparatus. So any person who is having a license to operate that radio apparatus can only operate it, otherwise no other person can operate it. Then mails. So mails can be carried with consent in writing of the Director General of Posts and Telegraphs. Okay, post and telegraphs, remember that. Only with the permission of them they can carry the mails, like people can carry the mails, otherwise they cannot carry. Then aerodromes. So as you may know, the aerodromes are also licensed for departure and arrival, so it is approved. So any pilot cannot land the aircraft in any place, which is not licensed, in any area for landing. That is not allowed under, certain circumstances which has to be done for the safety of the aircraft. Otherwise, only in the licensed aerodrome they can land or depart, or carry out their functions. Prohibited areas. So prohibited areas are the ones in which we are not allowed to take the aeroplane up from that area. So in case you get into any prohibited area, first thing you need to do is give a distress signal and land in the nearest aerodrome as soon as possible. Then further investigations, etc., that is done, as in how did you get inside, what was the necessity to go up over the prohibited area. Also, if there are some conditions like which cannot be controlled, like weather, etc., or any other reason which which makes it important to get in that area, prohibited area, then they can be exempted from any penalties for contravention of the law. But otherwise, other investigations, etc., are done on the pilot in command or the operator. These are the prohibited areas. Area including the Tara Silence on the Malabar Hills, Bombay, 1 nautical mile radius. Area of the Baroda Aerodrome. UNL means unlimited, from the ground to unlimited upwards. That is a prohibited area. Rashtrapati Bhavan, Rashtrapati Bhavan is also prohibited area, unlimited upwards. And Mathura refineries, area around the Mathura refineries is also prohibited, 10-kilometer radius, unlimited. Bhubaneswar, area around Bhubaneswar is also prohibited, 50,000 feet, not unlimited, okay, 50,000. And Kalapakam nuclear area, 10,000 feet. So these are the prohibited area. You should not get into that area. Also, photographs in the aerodrome or from the aircraft in flight is not allowed unless a written permission is granted by the Director General. And it does not jeopardize the safety of the aircraft, then you can take the photo, otherwise it is not allowed. Aircraft should carry their certificate of airworthiness, or if not, then special certificate of airworthiness and certificate of registration on the aircraft. These are the mandatory documents. Then remotely piloted aircraft. The remotely piloted aircraft cannot fly in the air if the weight of the aircraft is greater than 250 grams, and if it does not contain a unique identification number, then it cannot fly. So if it is greater than 250 grams and the government has given a unique identification number for them, then the remotely piloted aircraft can fly. There are certain rules of the air that has to be followed, and that we have discussed in the previous video, so we won't be discussing about it here in detail because there are a lot of rules, but this has to be kept in mind that all the aircraft registered in India, here in India, have to follow the rules of the air here. Then, so any license, be it a certificate of authorization, registration, logbook, any other documents, they can be asked as per the rules of this act by any authority of the civil department of the government, or also by any custom officer, gazetted officer of the civil department, or any commissioned officer from the naval, military, etc. And these documents have to be produced before them. Apart from one exception, that if these are the documents which they have asked for is not produced by the laws of this act, then they can take 7 days from the making of the demand of that aircraft, and then within not after the 7 days, but within those 7 days they can produce the aircraft documents which have been asked for. If deemed necessary that the flight are not following the rules of this act or are not safe, then the authority that have been authorized by the government or any other such authority, they can take an inspection, go inside the aircraft, see, test, and do the inspection, and if deemed necessary, they may prevent the flight from its further operations. So in that case, they can do it by force. They can even defuel the aircraft, remove the parts and components of the aircraft, or anything that is interfering with the aircraft, that interferes with the flying of the aircraft. So they can do that by force, and this is allowed by the government. Only that the government allows it. So the pilot cannot do anything in that case, right? So that was the prevention of flight in contravention of the rules. Next is prohibition on consumption of intoxicating and psychoactive substances. Okay. So, no crew, engineer, navigator, commander can consume alcohol, sedatives, narcotics, or anything like that within 12 hours of commencement of the flight. In case they do it regularly, tests are done before the flight, and the alcohol concentration is checked, etc. All these concentration are checked, and they may be detectable in the blood alcohol level, breath, urine. All those analysis can be done, and you can be prohibited to fly the aircraft. So that is why it has to be kept in mind that within 12 hours you don't have to consume any such alcohol or any such narcotics. Before moving on to this point, we will discuss on some points which I did not write, but they are actually self-understood, but still I'd like to mention it, that you cannot do dangerous flying. First of all, dangerous flying includes flying in a very low altitude, very much near to the any structure like building, etc., and also near people. All those things you cannot do. And also assault or any verbal or physical threatening, intimidating a crew member or a flight crew, anyone you are not allowed to do that. Anything that is interfering with the duty of the cabin crew or any other member of the aircraft, you are not allowed to do that, will be punishable. Now coming on to this point, which is people who are suffering from mental disorder and epilepsy, they cannot fly. Well, they can fly, but they have to be proved that they are fit for flying. So they have to be certified fit for travel by a medical practitioner. And in case if they get excited at some points, like the epilepsy, in case of epilepsy, some symptoms are there that they can get excited at some point of time. So for that, they have to be like, they can be under sedatives, and they have to be accompanied by either a practitioner or anyone who can take care of that person. And if any such excitement that prompts up in the aircraft, then they can slow it down or depress it down. Also, that it is to be taken care that such person do not take any alcoholic drink or any such preparation within 12 hours of the commencement of the flight. Next, we'll be talking about the prisoners. They can be carried, but again with the permit from the government. No animals, birds, reptiles without the permit. They cannot be carried without permit. Smoking, yes. So smoking, for the operator and the pilot in command, they can smoke, but only if it is permitted, only up to till some limit, okay, that do not put the aircraft safety in danger. So, and also in the certificate of airworthiness, it is mentioned whether smoking is allowed or not. So if it is mentioned, then it's fine, but smoking should be avoided. Next important topic is fueling of aircraft. So fueling of aircraft can be done only by approved vehicles or installations by a chief inspector of explosives or from the barges licensed under Petroleum Rule 2002. Okay, then there are certain rules that some distance have to be maintained from the fueling aircraft, right? So minimum distance is 15 meter that you have to maintain from a fueling aircraft. Any person or any building have to maintain at least 15 meter distance. Also, smoking or use of any naked flame or anything that can ignite the fuel vapors also, that is not permitted within 30 meters of the aircraft. So this is 30 meters. Then engine off. So when we are fueling the aircraft, then the engines should be off. Radars and radio items, systems, they should also be off. Minimum lighting should be there. So minimum lighting includes only the cabin lighting, that should only be on while you are fueling. And flexible training cables suitable for the use of hazardous area shall be used. And also something known as danger zone. As you might know that the wings are loaded with fuel. So fuel tanks are in the wings, okay. So that is included in the danger zone, and the fueling vehicle, the vehicle which is fueling the aircraft, that is also a danger zone. So 3 meter distance have to be kept with this danger zone. 15 meter away in case of gasoline, 6 meter away in case of kerosene. If you are refueling the aircraft and any jet aircraft is going, then the distance of 43 meter has to be maintained from the aircraft. And then again many little points that the cargo activity, handling of freight and baggage, all those things have to be stopped at least for the fueling to be done. After the fueling is done, then you can continue all those things. Fire extinguishers of adequate capacity and suitable type are approved, which are approved by the Dgca. That is, that has to be there immediately near around that area. So these are small things that have to be kept in mind while you are fueling the aircraft. You might have seen that the hangars are very much big and open, and they are made up of inflammable material. Just because of that reason, that if any aircraft which is having tons of fuels and they are getting inside it. In any case, if there is a flame or any fire in that area, then the whole hangar, that whole area can be burnt to ashes. So that is why it is made up of uninflammable material, and it should be ventilated. Okay, fine. Dropping articles just sent by the parachute is not allowed unless permission is there. So dropping of items, it's just not that like a man is jumping off the aircraft with a parachute or anything. So there can be some food items for if you are in a search and rescue mission. There can be some written signals or anything. So that has to be done with the prior written permission from the district magistrate or the commissioner of police, and then only you can drop certain articles. Also, dropping of the liquid fuel in case of emergency, that is exempted, that can be done. Dropping of cargo over, again to safe for the safety of the aircraft and the people inside it, that can be done. So anything which you're dropping from there, if it is for the safety of the person, then that is allowed. Otherwise, normally you have to have permission. Next up, that the carriage of persons in unauthorized part of the aircraft. So unauthorized part, that includes undercarriage, cargo compartment, etc., or any machinery area, and that area that is not made for accommodation of people. So any normal person who has come to board the aircraft and go from one place to other, they are not allowed to go inside, and the only ones who are like engineers, etc., they are if they are repairing any certain part of the aircraft, any certain machinery, fueling, etc., all those things are being done, they are allowed. Other than that, no other person is allowed. Fine. Moving on to minimum age for sole control of the aircraft is 16 years, and maximum age 60 years for commercial air transport pilot and 65 years for the same with the multi-crew in a multi-crew environment, provided that the other pilots are less than 60 years of age. Okay. Let's move on to the next part, that is the rules won't apply in the aircraft. Yeah, okay. One point we left, that if in case the aircraft is certified for a single pilot operation, then these rules won't be applied. The pilot can fly the aircraft provided that the all-up weight, AUW stands for all-up weight, of the aircraft is less than 5,700 kg. Okay. Sonic boom. As you might know, sonic boom is produced when the aircraft flies with the speed of sound. So you cannot do it, otherwise a huge loud sound comes up, and that is why the speed which is less than 1 Mach is kept. You cannot exceed 1 Mach, and you have to avoid the sonic boom. Okay. Then safety management system and manual. So the safety management manual is there in every aircraft. It has to be kept in every aircraft for all the flights, and as the name suggests, this is provided by every organization for the safe operations of the aircraft. Okay, this keeps in mind the maintenance, design, manufacture, all those things, and this is obviously specified by the Director General, and this has to be submitted, a copy of this has to be submitted to Director General for approval, and after the approval you can keep this manual inside the aircraft and fly with it. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, that is certificate of registration. So this is categorized into two parts, A and B. Aircraft can be registered in India in either of the following two categories. So where the aircraft is wholly owned either by the citizen of India or company registered in India or the state or the central government of India, or registered outside India but leased to any of these three above, leased to either the Indian citizen or any company in India or the state or the central government, then the certificate of registration is issued to them. Then in category B, it is by the person or the company carrying business in India. So any person or any company who are having business in India, they can wholly own the aircraft, and then certificate of registration is issued to them. You know, the certificate of registration can be cancelled by the government if they find that the registration is done by furnishing false information, or either the aircraft is only destroyed, or the airworthiness certificate has been expired for a period of more than 5 years now, or any other such reasons which might be on public interest as well. And if the government deems it necessary that it is not safe, or any other such reason, then the certificate of registration can be cancelled. Also, this Cape Town Convention and Cape Town Protocol sets out rules for this. So within 5 working days only, without seeking consent from anywhere or any document from the operator, just simply they cancel the registration if they find that this is any such wrong things are being done in this place. Okay, moving on to next topic. Ownership of the aircraft can be changed. So this can be done, just that you have to notify the Director General if that this so and so is going to be the owner now from so and so date onwards, etc., etc. Whatever important informations are there, you have to deliver it to the Director General, and also the person who is to whom that aircraft is coming, who is now getting the ownership of that aircraft, they also have to inform the Dgca about the same thing, and then the ownership can be changed. State marks. Okay, so no advertisement is permitted in the aircraft, first of all, without the permission. So you might have seen that a lot of aircraft, so the advertisement of different companies as well as cartoon characters, etc., etc., all those things are also printed on the surface of the aircraft outside. So this is done only with the permission of the aircraft, otherwise it is not allowed in the state aircraft. So also you might know that it is important that registration mark and nationality mark has to be there on the aircraft surface, and that should not be confused with the state mark if they are putting the state mark on the aircraft. So it should not be confused with the registration and nationality mark. The size and whatever graphics, name, etc., whatever they are using, they should be very different. And also it should not be confused with the military aircraft also. Fine. Now, licensing authority is the central government of India, or central government obviously. And one more important thing, operating crew. Who all are included in operating crew? As you can see, it is this. Pilot's license, a basic thing that pilot's license can be given to one who is having a private aircraft as well as for the public transport also. So private aircraft can be flown by only the person who is holding a private pilot's license, and not by the student pilot license or any other such person. And similarly for public transport also, or aerial work aircraft, it has to be done by a pilot who is holding a commercial pilot's license. Flight instructor. So the flight instructor duty is to impart instructions in an aircraft. So anyone who is holding a flight instructor license, actually they hold a commercial pilot license only, so they are only allowed to impart instructions. Okay. Flight navigation. So flight navigations in this case, if the aircraft is flying over any 2 points which is separated by a great circle distance of 600 nautical miles or more, in that case a flight instructor has to be there on board. Okay. Flight engineer again should have an appropriate license. FRTO is the flight radio telephone operator. Anyone who is operating the radio set in the aircraft should have a proper FRTOL license for that. And minimum crew. So now we'll be going to the crew, the number of crew which are there. Cabin crew, fine. So an aeroplane where the passenger seating is 10 to 50, in that cabin crew should be 1. And helicopter, this is minimum number. In case of helicopter, again same strength, 1. Aeroplanes जिसमें passengers are greater than 50, in that case at least 2 cabin crew should be there, and 1 will be added each with 50 passengers additional. Like 50 passengers are adding up, then 1 cabin crew are also adding up. This is for above 99 passengers, fine. Also disqualification from holding and obtaining the license. So this is also a very obvious thing, that there are certain 3-4 points because of which the pilot's license can be cancelled, or even they can be disqualified from obtaining the license at the first place. So this can be first thing, that alcohol, he is an addict to narcotics, drugs, or alcoholic, so they are not allowed. Second thing, that they have produced some false information when he or she was applying for the pilot's license. Or second thing, they are involved in some criminal activities or any such, they are being convicted by the court of justice in India. Then or also if they have suppressed some material information which says that they cannot be a pilot or they cannot perform such duty. So all those things, if it is there, then they can be disqualified for having a license. Also, pilots should have undergone certain medical examination, and they have to renew it also from time to time, so that they produce a certificate which says that they are medically fit to fly the aircraft. And license holder should sign in the license that they are given manually. Proof of competency, so these things are very minute things and very much understandable on their own. So we will be directly jumping to the topic, which is renewal of licenses. So as you might know, that license can also get expired. They have a certain period of time after which they get expired. Then what we have to do? In case the license gets expired and within the period which is given, you don't renew the aircraft, and the license gets expired, in that case, for renewal of it, you have to undergo the examination, certain examinations, and whatever skill tests are there. So you have to undergo that and pass in that examination to do so. So if the period extends from 2 years to 3 years, in that case, test of skill and air regulations has to be done. If it is greater than 3 years, then all the examination and tests. So if it's expired for more than 3 years, then all the examination and tests have to be done once again. Also, sickness. So if in case of sickness or injury also actually. So in case of sickness, if the person is now incapable of working, performing his duties for more than 15 days, then they may have his license cancelled or suspended, whatever the case may be. So that is a very heartbreaking thing, but that happens. So keep yourself fit. We are jumping to another topic now. This is every licensed flight crew should have a logbook, right? So logbook, as you might know, it contains all the instructions which are important during the flight by the ATC and which has been carried out by you, or timings, whatever path you took, ATC routes, whichever significant points you reached, and all your route details, it is given in the logbook. So this logbook, every crew member, every flight crew should carry, and they have to be preserved for not less than 5 years after the last date of entry. Entries to certify, this have to be certified each year, each calendar year, and also every quarter of the year, like end of March, June, September and December. They have to be certified for correctness of the entries. This is done by the following dignitaries. So in case of pilots, operations manager or deputy operations manager of the chief pilot, they can do it. In case of a flying club or any flying organization, training organization, chief flight instructor, which we call CFI, they do it. And for any others, the officers any officer appointed for the purpose by the DGCA, they can do it. Okay. Some important points now. So in case the pilot is under dual instruction, in his logbook he has to log as dual, and the pilot who is giving the instructions will make entries in the logbook of the pilot under instructions. Also, in case that if any pilot in any case, if any person who is pilot in command but under the supervision of some other pilot in command, they can log it as pilot in command, but it should be provided that he is entitled to fly in command, right? Also, the student pilot license may log as pilot in command only in that portion of the flight time during which he is the sole occupant. Okay, fine. The PPL holder, the ATPL holder, they can log as pilot in command. Okay, and also the co-pilot, in case of an ATPL holder, they can also, the time when he is acting as a co-pilot, they can log it as co-pilot. Flight instructor can also log as pilot in command for the flight time during which he is imparting instructions. Okay, and other things like the instrument flight time, so they have to be logged fully in case the pilot is flying solely with the reference of instruments, etc., and logged by the pilot manipulating the controls of the aircraft in flight only when the aircraft is flown solely. So this is one thing. Examiner can also log as pilot in command, and flight navigator will log as flight navigator, flight engineer will log as flight engineer, and FRTOL will log the flight time during which he was performing his duties as the flight radio telephone operator. Okay, now for qualifying for the license, either you have to be, first thing is that you have to be a citizen of India or any company which is in India, provided that that company is having a principal place of business here, or either holding the criteria which is specified by the government, and also it can be given, or the license can be issued to the central government and the state government, and also the societies which are registered under the Society Registration Act. So all those things can be there, provided that it comes under the rules and regulations, and then they can be qualified for the licensing. And the directions, fine. Moving on to the directions of the Director General. So through NOTAMs, AIP and AIC, they will be putting out the directions or notices, whatever it is. Also car, fine. So the car is civil aviation requirement. So that is, before it is issued, it is updated on the website for a period of 30 days at least, inviting objections or suggestions, whatever it may be, to change any rule or etc., whatever it is. So that is there, and this is how the directions are given by the Director General. Then for new ATS routes or any changes in the existing ones also, 7 days prior notice to be given to the DGCA. Now, two important things here: operational manual and route guide. So as the name suggests, operational manual, this will be having the instructions or the rules, etc., or procedures as in how to operate the aircraft in any circumstances. So it will be having instructions or the responsibility of operations in case of any emergency, or either if they are flying in high altitude or low altitude, then whatever procedures have to be followed, they jot down all those instructions and procedures in it. Also well, for radio listening, etc. The working or list of the navigation equipment that are carried in the operation manual, all those things are included here in this document. This is approved by the Director General. Okay, fine. What is route guide now? Again, as the name suggests, it will be telling you all the information in the route. So the list of aerodromes which will be falling in that route, communication facilities that are available in that route, the navigation aids, and then the instrument let down procedures for the aerodromes, and whatever alternates are there for that, meteorological conditions and the minimas that have to be followed in that route, and the quantities of fuel, etc., that will be needed in case of normal flying as well as in case of emergency failure of engine, etc. So all those things will be included in the route guide. So the aircraft rules of 1920, these are the custom rules that govern the aircraft in the Indian subcontinent for departure and arrival purposes. So the government appoints officers which are who are known as custom collectors. They are having a duty of examining the goods which are being carried, the aircraft, passengers, etc., so that they do not breach the rules under this aircraft rule 1920. So actually, there are aircrafts, not the aircrafts, there are airports which are the custom airports, and the aircraft have to depart and take off from here. If they are in the first time in their journey, they have to do it from the custom airport, and other certain rules are also there. And also, no person can import or export any goods, sell it to other country without permission. So custom, all those things are enrolled in this set of rules in 1920, and custom collector is the person who takes care of all these things. Fine. Now, as we already told that we were talking about the aircraft manual in 2 volumes, now we will be talking about aircraft manual volume 2. Part 1 is for National Convention Rules Acts, and part 2 is for the international conventions. Okay. Aircraft rule of 1954. The commander of the aircraft should inform health officer at the destination at least 2 hours prior on the RT, radio telephone. This is RT. So of the sick person. If any person is having any disease or under quarantine or having any infectious disease, then they have to inform the health officer at least 2 hours in prior. And there are certain incubation periods. So this is important from exams perspective, so that they ask it that influenza, what is the incubation period? So you have to know that it is 5 days. Okay. So influenza, pneumonia and cholera, 5 days incubation period. Yellow fever and plague, 6 days. Diphtheria, 7 days. Relapsing fever, 8. Cerebrospinal meningitis, 10 days. And smallpox, chickenpox, typhus, 14 days. So also that if any person who died due to the reasons like yellow fever, plague, anthrax and glanders, so the dead body of that person cannot be brought back to India. Other cases they can be brought to India provided that they are properly enclosed in a suitable coffin. They can be brought up. Okay. And finally, these are also the aircraft acts. These are the aircraft rules. 1994, it was for demolition of obstructions like building and trees. 2003, it came up with the rules including carriage for dangerous goods, and 2011 for security, 2017 for accidents and incident investigation. So that was the end of the video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, do give it a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, and keep watching. Thank you so much.